morning in a small town somewhere in the 1800s. The sun hasn't fully risen yet, and the world is painted in soft shades of gray and pale blue. In a modest house on a tree-lined street, a doctor is waking up, not to an alarm clock, but to the natural rhythm of dawn and the gentle sounds of his household stirring to life. Our doctor, let's call him Dr. William Hayes, sleeps in a simple bedroom on the second floor of his home. His house serves to purposes sits his family's residence, and it's also where he sees his patients. This was common in the 19th century. Doctors didn't rush off to hospitals or clinics each morning. Instead, their work and home life blended together in a way that feels almost peaceful to imagine now. Dr. Hayes opens his eyes slowly. There's no jarring sound, no sudden rush. He lies there for a moment, listening to the birds beginning their morning songs outside his window. His wife, Sarah, is already awake. He can hear the faint sounds of her moving about downstairs, probably starting the fire in the kitchen stove, preparing for the day ahead. The smell of wood smoke will soon drift up through the house, warm and familiar. He rises from bed and walks to the washstand in the corner of the room. There's a large ceramic bowl and a pitcher of water waiting there. The water is cold, there is no running hot water, of course, but he's used to this. He pours some water into the bowl and splashes his face, feeling the cool shock wake him fully. He dries himself with a linen towel that hangs nearby, then begins to dress. His clothing is simple and practical. A white cotton shirt, dark trousers, a waistcoat, and eventually his dark coat. Doctors in the 19th century dressed much like other professional men of their time. There were no white coats, yet no stethoscopes hanging around necks. Those symbols of medicine we know today hadn't yet become standard. Dr. Hayes dresses in layers because his day will take him both indoors and outdoors, and he needs to be prepared for whatever the weather brings. As he buttons his waistcoat, he thinks through the day ahead. There are patients to see in his consulting room downstairs. There are house calls to make in the afternoon. There might be unexpected visits, someone's child running to fetch him because their mother has taken ill, or a farmer arriving on horseback because there's been an accident. The 19th century doctor never quite knew what each day would bring, and there was a quiet acceptance of this uncertainty. He descends the stairs slowly, his hand trailing along the smooth wooden banister. The house is growing lighter now as dawn spreads through the windows. Downstairs, Sarah has indeed started the fire, and the kitchen is beginning to warm. She greets him with a gentle smile and a cup of tea, already prepared and waiting. They sit together at the kitchen table for a few quiet moments before the day truly begins. This is their peaceful time, these early morning minutes before patients arrive, before the town fully wakes. They talk softly about small things, the garden that needs tending, a letter that arrived yesterday from Sarah's sister, whether the apple tree might need pruning this year. The conversation is unhurried, comfortable, the kind of talk that comes from years of sharing morning after morning together. Dr. Hayes sips his tea and looks out the window at the street beyond. A milk cart passes by, the horse's hooves making a steady, rhythmic sound on the packed earth road. A few early risers are already out, heading to their work. The baker, the blacksmith, the shopkeepers, everyone in town knows everyone else, and Dr. Hayes knows them all. He's delivered many of their children, tended their illnesses, sat with their aging parents. His role in this community goes beyond just medicine. He's woven into the fabric of daily life here. After tea, there's a simple breakfast, perhaps some bread with butter and jam, maybe some eggs if the chickens have been laying well, some oatmeal on a cold morning. The food is plain but satisfying, fuel for a long day ahead. Sarah moves about the kitchen with practiced ease, and there's something soothing about watching her routine. The way she knows exactly where everything is, how she moves from task to task without fuss or hurry. When breakfast is finished, Dr. Hayes makes his way to his consulting room. This is a room at the front of the house, just off the main hallway, with its own entrance, so patients can come and go without disturbing the family's private quarters. The room is simply furnished: a desk, 2 chairs, an examination table covered with a clean white sheet, shelves lined with books and bottles, and cabinets containing his instruments and supplies. He takes a moment to prepare the room, opening the curtains to let in the morning light, making sure everything is in its place. On his desk sits his medical bag, a worn leather case that goes with him everywhere. Inside are the tools of his trade: his stethoscope, though it's not like modern ones, just a simple wooden tube, his thermometer, various instruments for examining patients, small bottles of medicines and tinctures, clean bandages, a jar of salve. Everything has its place in the bag, organized so he can find what he needs quickly, even in dim light or in someone's cramped cottage. He settles into his chair and opens the ledger where he records his patient visits and treatments. The pages are filled with his careful handwriting, notes about who he's seen, what their complaints were, what remedies he prescribed. There's something meditative about this record keeping, this quiet accounting of care given and received. Each entry represents a person, a life, a moment of trust when someone came to him seeking help. The first patient usually arrives around 8 o'clock. Dr. Hayes can hear the soft knock at the consulting room door, and he calls out gently for them to enter. The day has begun in earnest now, but there's no rushing, no sense of urgency. Each patient will receive his full attention, his calm presence, his careful consideration. This is how medicine was practiced then, one person at a time, one moment at a time, with patience and presence. The consulting room fills with soft morning light as Mrs. Abernathy settles into the chair across from Dr. Hayes's desk. She's an older woman, perhaps in her 60s, and she's been his patient for many years now. She comes in regularly for what she calls her rheumatism, the aching in her joints that troubles her especially on damp days. Today is one of those damp days, with mist still clinging to the ground outside. Dr. Hayes greets her warmly, asking about her family, her garden, how she's been feeling since her last visit. This conversation isn't just pleasantries, it's part of the examination, a way of understanding the whole person, not just the symptom. Mrs. Abernathy tells him about her week, speaking slowly, taking her time. There's no rush here, no waiting room full of people watching the clock. In the 19th century, a doctor's appointment could take as long as it needed to take. He asks her to describe the pain, where it's worst, what makes it better or worse. She explains that her hands trouble her most, especially in the mornings when she first wakes. Dr. Hayes takes her hands gently in his own, feeling the swollen joints, the warmth that indicates inflammation. His touch is careful, professional, but kind. He's examining her, yes, but he's also offering comfort through his calm presence, his unhurried attention. After the examination, he goes to his cabinet and prepares a liniment for her, mixing ingredients in a small bottle right there in the consulting room. The liniment contains camphor, oil, and a few other substances meant to ease the pain when rubbed into the affected joints. He explains how to use it, how often to apply it, and reminds her to keep her hands warm and dry as much as possible. He writes this all down in his ledger, noting the date and the treatment. Mrs. Abernathy thanks him and pays her fee, a few coins that she counts out carefully from her purse. The cost is modest. 19th century doctors weren't wealthy men, for the most part. They earned a living, certainly, but they also treated many patients who couldn't pay, or who paid with whatever they had. A chicken, perhaps, or some vegetables from their garden, or a promise to pay when the harvest came in. Medicine wasn't separate from community in the way it sometimes is now. After Mrs. Abernathy leaves, There's a brief moment of quiet. Dr. Hayes makes a few notes, then prepares for the next patient. And so the morning continues, one patient after another, each with their own story, their own needs. A young mother brings her infant son, worried about a rash that's appeared on his skin. Dr. Hayes examines the baby gently, asking questions about what the child has been eating, whether he seems uncomfortable, if there have been any changes in the household. The examination is thorough, but gentle. He determines it's likely just a mild irritation, nothing serious, and prepares a simple ointment while explaining to the mother how to keep the baby's skin clean and dry. The mother's relief is visible, and Dr. Hayes feels the quiet satisfaction that comes from easing worry, from bringing peace to an anxious heart. An elderly gentleman comes in next, moving slowly with the help of a walking stick. He's had a persistent cough for several weeks, and it's been keeping him awake at night. Dr. Hayes listens to his chest with his wooden stethoscope, pressing it against different areas of the man's back and chest, listening carefully to the sounds of breathing. The stethoscope of the 1800s was a far cry from the instruments used today, was simply a hollow wooden tube. But in practiced hands, it could reveal much about what was happening inside a patient's body. The doctor hears some congestion, but nothing that suggests anything serious. He prepares a cough mixture, a syrup made from honey, lemon, and various herbs known to soothe the throat and help loosen phlegm. He pours it carefully into a dark glass bottle and explains how much to take and how often. He also suggests steam inhalations, breathing in the vapor from hot water, with a few drops of eucalyptus oil to help clear the lungs. These treatments seem simple to us now, perhaps even quaint, but they represent the accumulated knowledge of generations. 19th century doctors worked with what they had, with plants and minerals, with heat and cold, with rest and care. They didn't have antibiotics or advanced imaging or many of the tools modern doctors rely on, but they had observation, experience, and the healing power of time and attention between patients. Dr. Hayes takes a moment to rest. He walks to the window and looks out at the street, now fully alive with the day's activities. Children are walking to school. Women are heading to the market with baskets over their arms. Men are going about their various labors. The town is small enough that he recognizes nearly everyone who passes by. That one is the cooper's daughter. There goes the widow Thompson, who lost her husband last winter. The boy running past is young Timothy, whose broken arm Dr. Hayes set just 2 months ago. This knowing, this deep familiarity with the community, shapes everything about how the 19th century doctor practiced. He didn't just treat isolated symptoms. He understood each patient within the context of their entire life, their family, their work, their worries, and hopes. Medicine was personal in a way that's difficult to imagine in our modern world of specialists and brief appointments. The morning consultations continue. A farmer comes in with a hand injury from working with his tools. Dr. Hayes cleans the wound carefully with soap and water, checking for any debris that might cause infection. He applies a salve and wraps the hand in clean bandages, explaining how to keep the wound clean and when to come back for the bandages to be changed. He warns the farmer to watch for any signs of infection, increased pain, redness spreading from the wound, fever, and to return immediately if any of these appear. A teenage girl arrives, accompanied by her mother, complaining of frequent headaches. Dr. Hayes asks detailed questions about when the headaches occur, what they feel like, whether anything makes them better or worse. He examines her eyes, checks her pulse, asks about her sleep and her diet. He suspects the headaches might be related to eye strain. Perhaps she needs spectacles on. He recommends she'll see the optician in the next town over. In the meantime, he suggests rest in a darkened room when the headaches come. Cold compresses on the forehead, and perhaps some willow bark tea for the pain. And so the morning unfolds, patient after patient, each receiving the same careful attention, the same unhurried care. There's a rhythm to it that's almost musical greeting, listening, examining, treating, recording. Farewell, the cycle repeats, each time unique yet familiar, each patient bringing their own small piece of the human story to this quiet consulting room. By late morning, the flow of patients begins to slow. Dr. Hayes has seen perhaps 7 or 8 people, maybe more. His ledger has several new entries. His medicine cabinet has been accessed multiple times. His medical bag has been opened and closed as he retrieved various instruments and supplies. He feels a pleasant tiredness that comes from focused attention, from being fully present with each person who sat across from him. He takes a moment to tidy the consulting room, to wash his hands in the basin, to straighten the papers on his desk. Sarah appears in the doorway with a cup of tea and a kind smile. She knows the rhythm of his days as well as he does, knows when he needs a moment of quiet refreshment. They stand together by the window, sipping tea, watching the mid-morning life of the town pass by outside, saying little but comfortable in the shared silence. Soon, it will be time for dinner, the midday meal, and after that, the afternoon house calls. But for now, there's this small pocket of peace, this gentle pause between morning and afternoon. And Dr. Hayes allows himself to simply be still, to rest, to gather his energy for whatever the rest of the day might bring. When Dr. Hayes finally arrives home, the sun has fully risen, and the town is awake and going about its morning business. He feels as though he's moving through a different world than everyone else there, beginning their day while his is, in some ways, still continuing from yesterday. This is one of the peculiar aspects of being a doctor. This existence outside of normal time, always available, always on call, living in a rhythm dictated by human need rather than the clock. Sarah meets him at the door, her face brightening with relief when she sees him. She doesn't ask questions immediately, just helps him out of his coat, takes his medical bag, guides him to the kitchen where she's kept breakfast warm. Scrambled eggs, toast, hot tea, simple food that tastes extraordinary after a long night of work. He eats slowly, telling her about the birth, about the complication and how it resolved, about the healthy baby boy now nestled safe in his mother's arms. Sarah listens with the attention of someone who's heard many such stories over the years, but never grows tired of them. She's relieved. He can tell that both mother and child survived. In the 19th century, this outcome is never guaranteed, and every successful birth feels like a small victory against the dangers that constantly threaten. After breakfast, Dr. Hayes makes his way upstairs to their bedroom. The bed looks impossibly inviting. The pillows soft, the quilts his mother made years ago familiar and comforting. He removes his boots, his waistcoat, lies down fully clothed because he's simply too tired to undress properly. Sarah pulls a light blanket over him, draws the curtains to dim the room, and leaves him to rest. Sleep comes quickly. The deep, dreamless sleep of exhaustion. Outside, life continues. Patients may come to the consulting room and find a note Sarah has placed on the door explaining that the doctor was called out on an emergency and will resume seeing patients in the afternoon. The town understands. This is how things work when you have only one doctor 4 miles around. People wait. Or in truly urgent cases, someone comes to knock on the door and wake him. Though Sarah guards his rest fiercely and turns away all but the most serious situations. Dr. Hayes sleeps for about 4 hours, his body recovering from the physical and mental demands of the night. When he wakes, it's early afternoon, and the house is quiet. He lies there for a moment, that peaceful moment between sleep and full wakefulness, feeling the comfort of his own bed, the safety of his own home. Then, gradually, he returns to himself, to awareness, to the gentle weight of responsibility that he carries always. He rises, washes, changes into fresh clothes, and makes his way downstairs. Sarah has lunch, ready. She always seems to know when he'll waken. They eat together in companionable silence. He's still tired, but it's a manageable tiredness now, the edge taken off by rest. He'll be able to see patients this afternoon, make a few brief house calls if needed, though nothing too strenuous. After lunch, he returns to his consulting room and opens the door to find several people already waiting. Word has spread that he's available again, and those with non-urgent concerns have come for their appointments. He settles into his chair, opens his ledger, and the familiar rhythm of practice resumes. But something has shifted in him after the long night. There's a heightened awareness, a deeper appreciation for the ordinary complaints he sees this afternoon. A man with a persistent cough, a woman with a rash on her hands, a child with an earache. These are simple problems, relatively easy to treat, and he finds himself grateful for their simplicity after the intensity of the complicated birth. He treats each patient with the same careful attention as always, but there's an extra gentleness in his manner today, a softness born of having witnessed the fragility of life, the narrow margin between disaster and survival. He's kinder to the anxious mother who's probably worrying too much about her child's minor cold, more patient with the elderly man who takes a long time explaining his symptoms in rambling detail. As evening approaches and the last patient leaves, Dr. Hayes finds himself drawn to his study, to the quiet refuge of books and contemplation. This is where he comes to think, to process, to make sense of his experiences. The study is lined with medical texts and journals, but also with volumes of poetry and philosophy, novels and history. He believes a good doctor must be more than just a technician. He must understand human nature, must have insight into suffering and hope, must be educated in the broader questions of existence. He lights the oil lamp on his desk and settles into his favorite chair, a worn leather armchair that's molded itself to his body over years of use. For a while, he simply sits, letting his mind wander where it will. He thinks about Anna Wheeler and her new baby, about the moment when he felt the infant turn under his hands, about the relief when he heard that first cry. He thinks about all the births he's attended over the year, maybe hundreds by now. Some easy, some difficult, some that ended in joy, and others that ended in sorrow. He remembers the ones that went wrong, the mothers who didn't survive, the babies born too early or too frail to live. These memories never leave him. They're carried always. A weight he's learned to bear but never entirely lightens. This is something the townspeople don't see. This private burden of grief and responsibility that doctors carry. They see the confident physician, the skilled practitioner, the calm presence in crisis. They don't see the nights when he lies awake, remembering the patients he couldn't save, wondering if he could have done something different, questioning his decisions and his abilities. He pulls a book from the shelf. Not a medical text, but a volume of essays by Montaigne, a writer he returns too often for wisdom and comfort. He opens to a familiar passage about the acceptance of human limitations, about doing what one can and finding peace with what one cannot do. The words settle over him like a blessing, reminding him that perfection isn't possible, that being human means sometimes failing despite one's best efforts. In the 19th century, doctors faced their limitations daily. Without modern diagnostics, without antibiotics or advanced surgical techniques, without the vast pharmaceutical arsenal available to later generations, they did what they could with knowledge, observation, experience, and care. And they learned to live with uncertainty, with the knowledge that sometimes, despite everything, patients died for reasons they couldn't understand or prevent. Dr. Hayes thinks about young Emma Miller, recovering from scarlet fever. What made the difference between her survival and the children in other families who succumbed to the same disease? Was it something he did? Some treatment that helped? Or was it simply luck? The mysterious workings of the body's own healing power? He doesn't know. Not really. And this not knowing is something he's had to make peace with. He thinks about Mrs. Patterson, her mind slowly fading. There's nothing he can do to stop this decline. No treatment to restore what's being lost. His role is simply to ease the journey, to support the daughter caring for her, to witness and acknowledge the sadness of this gradual goodbye. Sometimes medicine isn't about curing, it's about being present with suffering, about offering comfort when healing isn't possible. And he thinks about the Henderson boy with the suspected appendicitis, and worry tightens in his chest. Tomorrow he'll visit again, check on the young man's condition. He finds himself hoping, almost praying, that the inflammation has subsided, that bed rest and careful diet have been enough. The alternativa ruptured appendix, peritonitis, a slow and painful death is too terrible to dwell on. These are the thoughts that occupy him in the quiet evening hours, the inner landscape of a physician's mind. It's not all noble ideals and scientific curiosity. There's fear here too, and doubt, and grief. There's the weight of being responsible for other people's lives, of making decisions with incomplete information, of living with the consequences when things go wrong. But there's also deep satisfaction, moments of pure joy, the privilege of being trusted with the most intimate and important aspects of human existence. When he delivered Anna Wheeler's baby this morning, when he felt that small life moving in his hands, when he heard the first krithat, was a moment of pure meaning, of being exactly where he was meant to be, doing exactly what he was meant to do. Sarah appears in the doorway of the study, a gentle presence. "Come have some supper," she says softly. "You've been sitting here for over an hour." Has he? Time has slipped away in contemplation, the way it sometimes does in the evening quiet. He rises, feeling the stiffness in his back from sitting too long, and follows her to the dining room. Over supper, they talk about ordinary things: the garden, the neighbor's new chickens, a letter from Sarah's mother that arrived today. This normalcy is restorative, pulling him back from the heavy thoughts of his study into the simple, grounding reality of daily life. He's not just a doctor, he's also a husband, a householder, a member of this community, in ways that have nothing to do with medicine. After supper, they sit together in the parlor, as they did the previous evening before Thomas Wheeler's knock interrupted their peace. Tonight, no knock comes. The evening unfolds quietly, calmly. Sarah works on her embroidery, creating a pattern of flowers and vines that will eventually become a cushion cover. Dr. Hayes reads, first from a medical journal, then from a novel that Sarah recommended, a story about ordinary people living ordinary lives in the English countryside. The fire burns low in the hearth, and outside the windows, full darkness has fallen. The town is settling into sleep, lights going out in windows, families gathering for evening prayers or bedtime stories, the day releasing its hold as night takes over. Dr. Hayes finds his eyelids growing heavy, the printed page blurring before his eyes. It's not even late, perhaps 9 o'clock, but his body is still recovering from the previous sleepless night. Sarah notices, smiles, suggests they turn in early. He agrees gratefully. Upstairs, he undresses properly this time, washing in the cool water from the pitcher, putting on his nightshirt, brushing his teeth with the powder Sarah makes from salt and herbs. These simple rituals of preparing for bed have a calming effect, marking the transition from the public role of doctor to the private self who needs rest and renewal. He climbs into bed, feeling the familiar softness of the mattress, the weight of the quilts. Sarah joins him, extinguishing the lamp so the room falls into darkness, broken only by the faint moonlight through the curtains. They lie side by side in comfortable silence, their breathing gradually synchronizing. "Thank you," he says quietly into the darkness. "For what?" Sarah asks. "For everything. For taking care of things when I'm called away. For keeping the house running. For managing when I'm too tired to be much help. For being patient with the life of a doctor's wife, which I know isn't easy." He feels her hand find his under the covers, her fingers intertwining with his. "This is our life," she says simply. "I chose it to when I married you, and I wouldn't change it." They fall silent again, holding hands in the darkness, and Dr. Hayes feels a deep sense of gratitude wash over him. For Sarah, for this home, for the work he does, for the community that trusts him. For all of it, the difficult parts and the joyful parts, the losses and the victories, the uncertainty and the moments of clear purpose. His mind begins to drift, thoughts becoming looser, less linear. He thinks about tomorrow, about the patients he'll see, about checking on the Henderson boy, about all the small tasks and large responsibilities that make up his days. But these thoughts are peaceful now, not anxious. Tomorrow will come, and he'll meet it as he always does, with as much skill and care and presence as he can muster. He thinks about the long tradition of healing he's part of, stretching back through centuries. All those physicians who came before him working with whatever knowledge and tools their era provided, doing their best to ease suffering and preserve life. And he thinks about those who will come after, who will have better tools, deeper knowledge, more effective treatments. He hopes they'll also have what he tries to maintain: compassion, presence, the willingness to sit with patients in their suffering, to see them as whole people rather than just collections of symptoms. The boundary between waking and sleeping grows thin. His breathing deepens, slows. Sarah's hand in his grows heavier as she too drifts toward sleep. The house is quiet around them. The town is quiet beyond their walls, and the peaceful darkness of a spring night settles over everything like a benediction in this moment. Between day and night, between waking and sleeping, Dr. Hayes feels a profound sense of peace. The work is hard, yes. The responsibilities are heavy. There are sorrows and failures, moments of helplessness and doubt. But there is also the quiet satisfaction of work well done, the privilege of service, the deep human connection that comes from being present with people in their most vulnerable moments. His last conscious thought before sleep takes him is a simple one, a feeling more than a thought, really. Gratitude for the life he's been given, for the calling that chose him as much as he chose it, for the opportunity to make some small difference in the lives of the people around him. And then sleep comes, gentle and complete, carrying him down into rest, into the renewal that will prepare him for whatever tomorrow brings. The day is done. The night has claimed its time. And in the peaceful darkness, the 19th century doctor sleeps, gathering strength for all the days to come.